And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out.
What Ryan Reynolds, has seemingly done, right, is used his power and influence to not only help Blake Lively take over this movie, but, he's used it, on Deadpool and to make fun of Justin Baldoni.
Has Hollywood's wisecracking anti-hero finally crossed the line? For years, Ryan Reynolds was the golden child of the superhero world, beloved by fans, respected by critics, and seemingly unstoppable at the box office. But recent rumors suggest that everything's starting to unravel. From Joe Rogan's scathing callout to Marvel's alleged legal threats, the entire Deadpool franchise may be in jeopardy. Even more surprising are the leaked text messages reportedly tying his wife, Blake Lively, to a cunning dragon strategy aimed at shaping Hollywood's narrative. Has Ryan's influence grown too big for Marvel to handle? And did Blake really orchestrate behind-the-scenes chaos to boost her own career? Strap in, because this story goes deeper than you think. We're talking potential lawsuits, power moves, and a sudden shift in public perception that may change the face of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's dive into how it all began, and why Ryan Reynolds, once hailed as Marvel's comedic savior, might be on the brink of losing everything. It all kicked off when Joe Rogan took a swipe at Ryan Reynolds on his popular podcast, catching fans off guard. Rogan typically targets controversies he finds hypocritical or misguided, so when he singled out Ryan, Hollywood's charismatic fan favorite, it was clear something was amiss. Rogan's remarks weren't subtle either. He slammed Ryan for trying to strong-arm his way through Hollywood as if the rules didn't apply to him. Overnight, social media lit up with theories. Was Ryan's unfiltered humor finally wearing thin? Or had he done something to tick off a usually open-minded commentator like Rogan? Conversations shifted rapidly from Ryan Reynolds is unstoppable to is Ryan Reynolds in serious trouble? That's when more details began emerging, suggesting Joe Rogan's comments might only be the tip of a much larger iceberg. Sources close to Marvel started whispering that Ryan was no longer the easygoing actor who simply showed up, delivered his lines with perfect comedic timing, and called it a day. Instead, rumors circulated that he was deeply entangled in creative decisions, way more than Marvel was used to. Rogan's public takedown, it turned out, was just the first warning. Sign that everything in the Reynolds empire was not as rosy as it seemed.
There's no question it relates to Justin. I mean, anybody that watched that, the hair bun, the comment about the pregnancy. I mean, it's pretty obvious what's being done. But again, like if somebody is seriously sexually harassed, you don't make fun of it. It's a serious issue.
Rewind a few years. Ryan Reynolds was the hero who rescued Deadpool from Hollywood limbo. After that leaked test footage from 2014 went viral, fans essentially begged studios to greenlight a full film. Ryan was the driving force behind it all, refusing to let the merc with a mouth die in development. When the first Deadpool movie became a massive hit, Marvel, and fans everywhere, gave him near-legendary status, in stark contrast to other MCU actors who typically follow a set script and trust Marvel's internal team. Ryan had sway over virtually every aspect of Deadpool. He had input on the script, offered casting suggestions, and even shaped marketing campaigns. At first, Marvel seemed to love this arrangement. Ryan's creative instincts translated into huge box office returns and a devoted fan base. But success can be a double-edged sword. Insiders say Marvel's higher-ups started noticing that Ryan's influence was creeping beyond the typical realm of an actor or even a producer. He was reportedly challenging certain studio decisions, pushing jokes that were risky even by Deadpool standards, and occasionally sidestepping Marvel's usual oversight. For a while, it worked. But as soon as cracks began to show, Marvel management wondered if they had inadvertently handed too much control to one man. It wasn't just the Deadpool universe that seemed to be spinning out of control. Behind closed doors, Blake Lively was grappling with her own controversy. She'd signed on to star in the much-anticipated film adaptation of Colleen Hoover's bestseller It Ends With Us, directed by and co-starring Justin Baldoni. On paper, it looked like the perfect project. A beloved novel, a talented team, and a built-in fan base ready to see this emotional story on the big screen. As filming progressed, however, whispers of tension started surfacing. Blake, known for her meticulous career choices, reportedly felt overshadowed by Baldoni's multitasking. He wasn't just directing, he was a co-writer and the leading man, giving him enormous influence over how the film would ultimately take shape. Blake had strong opinions about her character's arc, believing she should be the emotional core of the story, but found her suggestions clashing with Baldoni's broader vision. Some cast members initially brushed it off as the usual creative, back and forth common to film sets, yet rumors hinted at something more severe. Still, no one expected the situation to blow up. Blake was a master at avoiding public drama, so any on-set disagreements usually stayed behind the scenes. That low-key approach didn't last long. As soon as advanced marketing materials began, focusing on Baldoni's involvement, sometimes overshadowing Blake's star power, speculation soared that she was feeling pushed aside. Some even claimed she considered stepping away from the project entirely, frustrated that her input wasn't taken seriously. But that was only the beginning of the real fireworks.
That's called fraud. She does appear like an Amber Heard to me, puts a totally different light on her horrific allegations. Then you see what she actually said and wrote. It's very different. She called herself Khaleesi and said Ryan Reynolds and we believe Taylor Swift were her dragons. And she's got the best dragons because they'll fight on behalf of her friends too.
Then came the explosive twist. A series of leaked text messages supposedly implicating Blake in a covert campaign against Baldoni. According to these messages, she referred to her network of allies, husband Ryan Reynolds included, as her dragons, who could be unleashed to shift public perception. It didn't take long for Hollywood gossip to paint Blake as a behind-the-scenes puppet master, pulling strings to secure her creative vision. In an industry notoriously quick to label outspoken women as difficult, these leaks set off a firestorm. Initially, many had taken Blake's side, assuming Baldoni might be trying to undermine her. But the texts flipped that narrative. Suddenly, fans began to wonder if she was orchestrating negative press about Baldoni to gain sympathy. Were these texts real? If so, was Blake truly manipulating the media to overshadow her director and co-star? Marvel, always hyper-alert to any scandal that could tarnish their brand, took note. If Blake was leveraging her influence, and by extension Ryan's, to steer the media, was it possible Ryan had used similar tactics at Marvel? The timing couldn't have been worse. While It Ends With Us drama escalated, insiders at Marvel claimed to discover that Ryan was making questionable moves within Deadpool 3, and what they found next would allegedly send shockwaves throughout the MCU. Deadpool's entire appeal lies in its irreverent humor. Breaking the fourth wall, roasting other studios, and poking fun at pop culture icons are practically written into the franchise's DNA. But according to alarming reports, the upcoming Deadpool 3 script had a batch of jokes directly targeting Justin Baldoni, and not in a playful way. One scene allegedly depicted a clueless Hollywood director-turned-actor insisting on starring in his own film, despite lacking the chops. Another rumor teased a cameo or sequence that made light of an inspirational filmmaker who always believed he was above criticism. Fans quickly connected the dots to Baldoni's brand, which emphasizes emotional, uplifting storytelling. Marvel brass, well aware that personal feuds can spiral into legal nightmares, supposedly stepped in and demanded rewrites. They feared the possibility of legal action if Baldoni decided to accuse them of defamation or malicious parody. Yet rumors claim Ryan fought to keep some of these digs, sparking friction with Marvel executives who'd grown concerned about him pushing comedic boundaries too far. For the first time since Deadpool's triumphant debut, Ryan found himself at odds with the powers that be. Could these jokes really lead to a legal battle? Maybe. In Hollywood, reputations are currency, and no studio wants to be entangled in a PR fiasco that suggests they condone personal vendettas on screen. Worse yet, it raised a larger question. If Ryan was using Deadpool to settle his wife's scores, how much sway did he have over the entire Marvel process?
It's not every day the mother-in-law of the leading lady gets to interview the love interest and the man trying to replace my sweet little gummy bear, Ryan. Let's dive in, shall we? I don't feel very comfortable asking this question.
Nope, I got it. I'll get it. Here, I can do that. You're not going to read it? I will then. Okay, thank you very much. That's the one. It says Ryan would love to have a new dad to have a catch. And I think he could really use a man in his life. Hugh is no spring chicken anymore. Blink once for yes, or blink once for I'd love to be your new dad. He blinked.
That's when the unthinkable happened. After rumored months of tense back and forth, Marvel allegedly decided to file a lawsuit against Ryan Reynolds. It was a shocking turn of events for a studio that generally handles disagreements behind closed doors. But apparently, higher-ups were alarmed enough by Ryan's off-screen influence, and the possibility that the comedic jabs in Deadpool 3 had crossed into malicious territory to take swift, aggressive action. The heart of their concerns seemed to be brand protection. Deadpool, while edgy, is still part of the multi-billion-dollar Marvel empire. If any major star starts using Marvel films as a platform for personal spats, it sets a precedent that could unravel the studio's carefully curated image. Imagine if every actor with a grudge, past, present, or future, decided to wedge digs into their script. Marvel's meticulously controlled cinematic universe could descend into chaos. Once the rumor of a lawsuit spread, fans were thrown into a frenzy. Ryan, who had always been revered for his comedic authenticity, suddenly looked like a liability. If Marvel went through with legal action, it could freeze Deadpool 3's production, torpedo fan goodwill, and leave one of the studio's most profitable characters in limbo. Almost immediately, the potential Marvel lawsuit rocked Hollywood. Ryan Reynolds went silent, halting his usually witty social media posts. That abrupt change signaled big trouble. When an actor known for comedic jabs and playful banter stops, joking, you know the stakes are high. Some speculated that Marvel demanded radio silence while they sorted the legal situation. Others theorized Ryan was simply laying low, aware that anything he said could be twisted against him in court. Blake Lively's polished image also took a serious hit. For years, she'd been one of Hollywood's darlings, carefully managing her brand as a fashionable, family-focused actress. But the leaked texts about her dragons painted a different picture, one of a savvy power player who might be willing to manipulate the press if it served her goals. Fans and critics debated whether she was merely defending her creative interests or crossing ethical lines to undermine a co-star. The controversy stung, given Blake's long-standing commitment to keeping her personal life drama-free. Suddenly, the Reynolds-Lively power couple found themselves on shaky ground. Rumors spread that other studios were stalling projects involving Ryan until they saw how Marvel's legal conflict resolved. The Deadpool actor, once unstoppable, faced the possibility of losing his marquee role. Meanwhile, Blake was left to fend off accusations of diva-like demands, a label that can be career-ending for women in Hollywood. Then came the rumor no one wanted to believe. Marvel might recast Deadpool. To fans, the notion felt absurd. Ryan Reynolds is so intertwined with the character that imagining anyone else in the red and black suit seems almost laughable. Yet inside, sources hinted that Marvel executives were quietly exploring contingency plans. They realized that if a lawsuit did happen, or if Ryan's behind-the-scenes battles continued, Deadpool could become more of a burden than a blessing. For Ryan, losing Deadpool would be devastating. He's publicly stated that this role is his passion project. Without his comedic timing and personal investment, Deadpool might lose the magic that made it a runaway success. But big studios think in terms of the long game. If Ryan's involvement threatened to overshadow the brand, recasting might be a bitter but necessary pill for Marvel to swallow. Naturally, fans are split. Some insist Marvel should stand by Ryan and handle any internal drama discreetly. Others argue that no actor should be allowed to hijack a major film franchise to settle personal scores. A recast, while shocking, isn't out of the question. After all, the MCU has navigated recasts before, though never one with as much personal fan attachment as Deadpool. So where does that leave us? We have Joe Rogan's public condemnation, Marvel's rumored lawsuit, leaked Dragons texts implicating Blake Lively, and endless speculation about whether Deadpool might be snatched away from Ryan Reynolds. The Reynolds-Lively power dynamic, once a fairy tale success story, appears more complicated than ever. Some say it's only a matter of time before Marvel draws a hard line in the sand, forcing Ryan to relinquish creative control or face the consequences. Others believe that once the dust settles, everyone will realize these rumors were blown out of proportion, and the studio will quietly make peace with its top comedic star. But here's the real question: can Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively navigate this controversy and come out on top? Or has their behind-the-scenes maneuvering finally backfired, putting their careers and the future of Deadpool on the chopping block? One thing is certain: whenever Marvel weighs in, the entire industry pays attention. Whether Ryan is forced to step away or not, fans should brace themselves for major ripple effects across the MCU. Will we see a new face behind the mask of the Merc with a mouth? Or will Ryan manage a last-minute save that keeps him at the helm of his signature role? Sound off with your theories and let us know who you'd cast if Ryan disappears from the franchise. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell for more shocking Hollywood revelations. Because if there's one thing we know, it's that this story is far from over.